What is going on, guys? I hope you're having an amazing day. Now, today we have Vivek Ramaswamy going against another CNN reporter. Apparently, today he's here to discuss his foreign policy and Trump. I am not going to lie to you guys. The more and more I see Vivek speak, the more I am actually impressed by him. I just watched a video of him going against DC Drano and Candace Owens. I don't want to say going against, but them asking him tough questions and him answering them very straightforward. And you guys, do you know what's next week? The GOP debates start next week. I think I'm going to probably be reacting to those debates on this channel. And if I'm just being honest with you guys, I fully expect Vivek Ramaswamy to just dominate that entire stage. I think after these debates, Vivek Ramaswamy is going to shoot straight to second place in these polls. I already don't hear too many people talking about Ron DeSantis anymore, but I digress. With that being said, let's get right into this video.
Who is defending Trump is Vivek Ramaswamy. And today, a memo from Ron DeSantis' Super PAC laid out some advice for the Florida governor ahead of next week's debate. Among the suggestions, defend Donald Trump, but, quote, take a sledgehammer to Ramaswamy.
Ooh.
And joining me now is the candidate mentioned in that memo, Vivek Ramaswamy. He's giving a speech at the Nixon Library tonight. Welcome, Mr. Ramaswamy. Appreciate you joining us.
It's good to see you, Jim. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, let's get right to this. A pro-DeSantis Super PAC, I'm sure you've seen this, has posted documents
Super
online
PAC
that show DeSantis' upcoming debate strategy, and that includes not only attacks on President Biden as well as media, but instructions to, quote, hammer Ramaswamy. Are you preparing to be hammered?
You know, I have been prepared for that for a lot of my life, and I'm prepared to take that on. The truth is I'm an outsider in this race, and I think that that is
true,
threatening a lot of the professional politicians, understandably. A guy like me is not supposed to be in this race, according to their book. I'm approaching my debate strategy a little bit differently. I think many times if you don't have a message, you look to attack other candidates. I'm preferring to stand for my own message, asking the question, what are we running to? And I think if we're guided by that purpose, the attacks from the other candidates are not going to stop me.
That's
and
very true.
Fox polling shows you've gained ground, more ground since June than any other candidate. Why are you gaining ground?
Look at that, guys. Look at that. He's 11%. He went from 5%, guys, to 11%. That is ridiculous. And as far as Ron DeSantis goes, he's going to really be attacking Vivek on that stage. I really want to see that, guys. Guys, don't you want to see that? Come on, let's be honest here. Do we not want to see these two GOP candidates duke it out like that? Now, of course, Trump is too. I mean, you know, he's not even in that stratosphere anymore. He's way past it. So he doesn't have to be on the debate stage, which he's not going to be, I think. Apparently, according to him, he's not going to be. But let's keep going. I just wanted to say that I think that's going to be amazing.
While candidates like Ron DeSantis are struggling to catch on.
I think the reality is I'm unconstrained in speaking the truth. There are many forces at work in both political parties, in the establishment of the Democrat Party and the Republican Party alike, that constrains what candidates can actually say.
True.
A lot of that comes from the donor class. In the Republican Party, you have a lot of super PAC puppets. I'm not one of them.
Ron DeSantis.
I'm a patriot who speaks the truth. I am independent. I'm putting my own money into this campaign precisely to avoid taking a tin can with a hat in hand, asking a bunch of donors for permission to run. And I think that's a very different model from many of the other professional politicians in this race. And the good news is voters across our country, in our base, they can tell the difference between somebody who's actually sharing their own convictions versus somebody who's parroting off talking points served up to them 15 minutes or 15 days before a debate. I think the reality is also the message of my campaign is resonating. Shut down the administrative state, declare independence from China, grow the economy, revive national pride, revive our national identity itself. We as conservatives, we can't just be complacent with criticizing the radical Biden agenda. That's boring. It's trite at a certain point in time. We have to stand for a vision of our own. And I think I'm the only candidate who's actually offering that. I think that's a big part of why we've been successful.
I'm not going to lie. This guy is so smart. I'm going to tell you guys why I think he's so smart, right? Because he has not been in politics yet. He just said he's an outsider, right? He is so smart because since he has not been in politics, he has zero experience. Ron DeSantis can say, hey, I've done this. I've done this. That's what Ron DeSantis can say. But Vivek cannot say any of that stuff because he has not done anything at all in politics. So what does he do? He said, hey, this is the vision I have going forward, and this is what we're going to be doing. I think that's a very smart tactic to focus on what you want to do and like reviving the national identity of America. I think it's a very smart, thing to actually focus on for him specifically, because he can't focus on anything else but that. What is he going to say? Oh, I created a big pharma company, you know, worth 30 whatever billion. I don't know what he said, you know, worth billions of dollars. That's not really going to resonate with people, you know, at least not in politics, which is why I'm glad he's clear from that too. But let's keep going. I just wanted to say that I think that's very interesting.
Let's talk about China. You talked about China. You proposed to radio host Hugh Hewitt this week that the U.S. should help Taiwan deter a Chinese invasion until the U.S. has achieved, quote, semiconductor independence. Does it really serve our long-term interests to say we support territorial integrity until a country is no longer useful to us?
Yes.
I think that moving from strategic ambiguity
Honesty
to strategic clarity is actually a good thing for the United States to both advance our interests and to avoid war, as well as to be a more trusted partner. I don't think it's credible when we make hollow proclamations to defend democracy or to defend territorial sovereignty as a principle when in fact we choose that principle selectively anyway. I think it's far more credible for us to be honest, to say that I will, as the next US president, I stand for advancing American interests, period. That allows other nations to actually trust us. Just as we can trust them to follow their self-interest, they can trust us to follow ours.
But are you
Move
sending
from
a
this
signal
model
that
of
an allied...
neoconservatism or liberal hegemony?
But are you sending a signal that an allied democracy
Please.
could be taken over by another power just because they're no longer making something that we need?
Well, let's get real, Jim. I mean, the fact of the matter is our current posture towards Taiwan is that the U.S. embraces the one China policy
Honestly.
in the status quo. The standard protocol is a U.S. president isn't even supposed to pick up a phone call from the leader of Taiwan. In fact, when Trump did it, they laughed at him as though he was an outsider rube. And so the reality is that line of reasoning that somehow you're now going to call them an allied nation selectively to push back on my vision of strategic clarity is just a farce and betrays exactly what our current posture is in the first place. What I'm bringing to our foreign policy is honesty that will advance our interests. I'm moving from strategic ambiguity to be strategically very clear that we will defend Taiwan until we achieve semiconductor independence. I expect that to happen by the end of my first term, by 2028.
But then China can...
Wait. Before he starts talking, that guy. Wait, so he's actually making a very good point right now. Hey, we already don't really look at Taiwan as an individual country itself. He's saying that our posturing towards them right now, at least as to how it seems, is that we're like embracing this China, the one nation, you know, with Taiwan, all that is like is one, basically. He said that's what we're doing right now. He said, hey, I'm making it very clear to Taiwan that, hey, we're going to actually support you. We're going to actually defend you until you do these certain things for us, which is a lot more realistic because, hey, once you get our self-interest done, then we're done with you. It's a lot more realistic to Taiwan. So now Taiwan knows how to handle themselves and they know how to actually, you know, move accordingly. As to right now, basically they're like, wait, do you guys support us? Do you guys not support us? What is it? What is it? Come on, America, what is it? Do you guys support Taiwan or do you not support Taiwan? That's probably what they're thinking right there in their heads. So right now, Vivek is making a very good point. Amazing point if you ask me. But let's keep going.
And have
Our
Taiwan, is
commitments
that...
necessarily will change.
But then
Well,
China can
to be
have
clear,
Taiwan.
after that, by being clear, not necessarily. What that really means is Taiwan, between now and then, can actually spend what it should be spending on national defense. Taiwan spends less than 2% of GDP on its military. That is shameful. Taiwan needs to be spending over 4% of its own GDP. But by being strategically clear, we give Taiwan a chance to build up its own defense capabilities. And China will also know that it is absolutely not in China's interest, not any rational actor in China would want to make that move before 2028. In the meantime, what am I going to do? Achieve semiconductor independence for our nation and also build up our own homeland defense capabilities. That's something that's badly lacking. Super EMP defenses, cyber defenses, nuclear missile defenses. But if we're at that point by 2028, along with semiconductor independent, then no, I don't expect to want to send our sons and daughters in this country to die to fight over somebody else's territorial dispute. And I think that that's exactly what this Chinese Civil War dating back to 1949 was all about. There are two reasons why China might go after Taiwan. One is to lord over an economic gun over the United States. I refuse to let that happen. But a second is sorting out business dating back to 1949 between Chiang Kai-shek and Mao Zedong. That's not something that I'm going to send our sons and daughters to settle.
And you've also suggested...
Hold on, before you start talking again, guy. Let me just say this, right? Because I don't even know this guy's name. But let me just say this. Vivek is making a very good point again. He's saying, hey, and plus he's well informed. Let's just say that first level. Vivek is well informed. I don't even know who he's talking about, which, you know, the Chinese names you just say right there, like the conflict going on. So I have no idea what's even going on with that. I have to actually look into that more. But in regards to, you know, him saying that, hey, let's actually be productive and actually bring things to U.S. Let's get semiconductor independence for the U.S. and all of these things before we at least say, hey, we don't want to, be a part of that anymore with Taiwan and China. We don't want to be a part of that war because it's going to be like another Vietnam, probably, is what I'm thinking. He's thinking in his head. So honestly, I think this makes perfect sense. He's saying, hey, let's be honest about this. That's all he's saying. Let's be honest, because right now we're not being honest. Right now we're being very ambiguous in the sense that we're saying, hey, we support you, Taiwan, we support you and all of that stuff, except the way that we're actually treating them and how we're not even talking to them, it seems like they embrace that one China rule. You know what I mean? So I get what he's saying right here, and I think it makes a lot of sense. I don't know any type of holes in his logic. Honestly, though, I have not thought about this enough to even have a hole in these in his logic right there. But with that being said, let's keep going.
So that Vladimir Putin be allowed to keep parts of Ukraine as part of a way to solve that conflict.
Okay.
What if he wants parts of Poland?
You leave
next?
out the most important part of that deal.
More of Ukraine next.
You
Aren't you letting some of these authoritarian leaders off the
what
hook?
actually advances. Far from it. I think that the Biden administration is so stubbornly attached to the idea of getting Xi Jinping to drop Vladimir Putin. What I think we need to be doing is get Vladimir Putin to drop Xi Jinping.
Okay.
Just like Nixon went to China in 1972. I think Putin is like the new Mao. I will visit Moscow and I will pull Russia out of its military alliance with China. The Russia-China military alliance is the single greatest military threat that we face today. Hypersonic missile capabilities, nuclear capabilities in Russia, far ahead of us or China. A naval capacity in China ahead of ours, combined with an economy that we depend on for our modern way of life.
Thanks.
Those two nations are in a military alliance with one another, and nobody in either political party is talking about it. Worst of all, our engagement in Ukraine is further driving Russia into China's arms. So my foreign policy centers on weakening that alliance. That advances American interests.
But you would let Putin have
that
parts
is how
of
we
Ukraine.
actually secure peace.
But you would let Putin
I
have
would
parts of Ukraine.
freeze the current lines. I would freeze the current lines of control, and that would leave parts of the Donbass region with Russia. I would also further make a commitment that NATO will not admit Ukraine to NATO. But there are even greater wins that I will get for the United States in return.
What? Is this guy not listening? I'm so confused. Is this guy not listening to what Vivek is saying? He's saying, hey, the main focus should be Russia and China's alliance. He said, don't forget that we're talking about U.S. interests here. The U.S. interests, these guys have lost the main point of this. It's not really about the Ukraine-Russia war exactly, was what Vivek is saying right here. He's saying, hey, we're literally trying to stop Russia and China from forming an actual alliance together. And right now what we're doing is driving that force for them to come together even more. And he's saying, but that sounds like a win for Putin if we let them keep some of Ukraine. Well, wouldn't it be a loss, like an actual, like legitimate, like absolute loss for the U.S. if China and Russia had an alliance? This is very obvious. This is a very obvious concept. And I don't understand how he's not actually thinking about that. There's a CNN reporter. Think about it. Which one is worse? Russia having some of Ukraine, or Russia and China actually becoming an alliance and going against the USA? Which one would be worse? Come on, that's all he has to think in his head. Which one is worse, that or this? And that's it. Simple as that. I don't understand the problem with what Vivek is saying right now, according to him at least. I don't understand his problem.
The top of the list. No, our goal should not be for Putin to lose. Our goal should be for America to win.
Yes.
That's what we have forgotten in this country, is that driving Russia into the ground is not a U.S. strategic goal. A U.S. strategic goal is to secure peace and prosperity for Americans. And so, you know what? I do think many of those military resources being used to protect against an invasion across somebody else's border halfway around the world should be used to protect against the invasion across our own southern border right here at home. And in the meantime, yes, we need to pull Russia apart from China instead of driving Russia further into China's hands. And I think we have a foreign policy establishment in both parties, frankly, Republican Party and Democratic Party alike, that behaves as though we're still in the Cold War of the last century, forgetting that the USSR does not exist anymore and that the real threat we face today is communist China, which is that much stronger when Vladimir Putin is in Xi Jinping's camp.
Yes.
All right.
Simple as that is. Okay, that was pretty much the end of the video, guys. But as simple as that, I don't understand what the CNN's reported problem is, how he can't actually comprehend what Vivek is saying right here. Hey, if I believe our biggest threat is China, if China had a merger or an alliance with Russia, that would be infinitely worse than what we have right now. So let's actually stop doing that. To stop doing what we're doing right now, and let's have a different plan. Basically, that's his plan. That's his prerogative, and I think it makes sense. Personally, I think that makes sense. It's better than what we're doing right now, sending billions of dollars to Ukraine, and what is it actually doing? Like, what is it actually doing to help anybody? Really, anybody, not even just, the U.S., but anybody. Even Ukraine, how is it really technically helping them? I mean, you could say that it's helping them in certain ways, except not necessarily, because it's just prolonging what I think personally is just going to be Russia's win. Because how can Ukraine win if Russia is a whole entire conglomerate, and then Ukraine is like the smart subset that used to be even a part of Russia and the USSR? I don't, you guys get what I'm saying. I think you guys understand what I'm saying. So just logically, when I think about this stuff, it's like, how does this work? But with that being said, if you enjoyed this video, my name is Dotti. Like and subscribe. Peace.